Quite a tough week of training this, quite tired towards the end. And I think this was the bar one workout, was the end of this kind of strength block, which was the first workout of the last week, moving into the next week. So this was mainly strength training. Usually has an accumulative effect, I find. By the end of the phase, I start to feel a little bit broken, a little bit beaten up, and need a bit of a kind of unloading kind of phase. So that's what I've built into my program. We had a little debate about who was jumping higher, so I looked to the people of social media, and they thought that I was, as I suspected, jumping higher. So obviously I get the gloating points over the wife. Wife Jen doesn't do a huge amount of heavy lifting, strength training, so this is rarely. She's jumped in for this month, so this is probably the first time she's lifted this heavy. Well, maybe the first time she's lifted this heavy full stop, but she's definitely, in terms of consistent heavy lifting in a phased program, it's been some time since she's done it. And I think she's enjoyed it and definitely seen good progress. This is a good improvement over last week's 6 reps target. For me, this is really, I tried lifting with straps to start with, but I just hate lifting with straps. It feels really weird. So this is the first time lifting with the usual kind of over-under grip with no straps. Didn't feel amazing. I tried to do a set with a bit of tape around the finger, and I did the set, felt horrendous. I had a look at my finger, and it was all basically covered in blood blisters. The tape was too tight, and I felt like my finger was going to burst. So the saga of the finger continues. Usually find at this point with the hip thrust, the glute bridge, in the bridge in, it's very similar to weight, which I actually deadlift, so I think the same. I think it was around 160 kilos. Introduced Jen to this exercise, hip flexor, lower abdominal kind of exercise. She didn't have the same reaction I did, where I could barely lift my legs up. I was trying to go up the stairs and clipping my toes. I think my hips were in shock. Ripped a leg off during this exercise. Don't know who it was harder for, her or me. At least I lost these last week. I was going to start using them. Just a little bit of isolation work on the tibialis anterior. Surprisingly difficult with these individual weight straps. Very difficult to control the movement. The feet flying all over the place. On to day 2, this was full body workout. Changed it a little bit from last week, which was very trap dominant. Obviously a lot of traps, but we kept it a little bit of a mixed event day, a bit more shouldery. So a mix between pushing movements, pulling movements, and carries. Using the extension bar, make it a little bit easier on the grip this time. Still trying to persevere with these overhead presses. My kind of philosophy is sometimes you need to do exercises to realise your limitations. And this is definitely a limitation still with my long extended shoulder injury. As you can see on the right arm, presses easier, but much heavier than this, but on the left it's a different story. The whole body is accommodated, so the more of these kind of exercises I do, the more it highlights the areas I need to improve. And obviously when I do make improvements, it will be reflected in the use of the exercise as well. But at the minute this wasn't easy at all. It felt as ugly and as awful as it looked. This is one of these exercises where I don't want anyone to see me do it. another trainer because they'll probably think, God, it's awful technique. But the technique would be great if my shoulder would allow me to do it. So on to farmer's walks. Again, still using the straps on this one. So I think that my finger is nearly there, but it's a question of me trying to regain grip strength. So I wanted to lift a little bit heavier for the lift itself, but sort of spare my hands a little bit as well. And they felt really tired at the end of this. So weight there on each hand is around about 215 plates, 2.5 collars, and whatever the bar weighs. So it's quite a heavy weight. This is a little bit of fun, like a loading race. Run, load 10 kilos, run, load 10 kilos, and then push the load towards the end. A nice mix between lifting, fitness, time, trial. Obviously we always try and compete with each other.
You're on 54 seconds to beat, you ready? Go!
Slight concession with the weight, we took off 115 weight. Close but no cigar.
Oh, bad gear.
Finishing with something I've been aiming to use for a long time, but I literally these things arrived I think the day after I injured my finger, so I haven't been able to use them. And it's really he's one of our guys. I said he always comes to me and asks me questions. Matt, can we do this? Can we do that? And I'm like, right, okay, this time you got to lift this before you ask me the questions. And he came in, fair enough, he did it. Pretty impressive. It was 40 kilo lift with a rolling thunder handle. The strangest thing here was that my left hand was actually stronger than my dominant hand, my right hand. Really weird, cannot explain it. Best they've got is that my right hand is tired from basically working harder than my left. Day 3, functional push pull. Speed, prime the body, speed and power, same kind of order. Didn't film any mobilization exercises in this one. Mobilization, preparation, speed, power, get the central nervous system fired up into the tougher lifts, and then as the session goes on, lifts get a little bit easier, intensity goes down a little bit, but tough start. Actually, I don't think it was functional today, I think it was strength, it was strength training. Again, Jen showed improvement on heavy lifts. Last week was 4s, it's essentially the same workout this week, but last week was 6s, this week is 4s. She's doing floor press, I'm doing a board press. The only reason we changed is because I don't have to keep taking weights off. This is one of those where if I could have left this and not spotted, but it's when it starts veering off towards the top of the shoulder, it's worth just giving it a little touch just to save the shoulder. So this is a good lift for me. Again, another improvement over the 6 reps last week. I think I ended up with 120 kilos on this one. 4 reps, 120 kilos. And again, another improvement on this. This was 45 kilos for 4 reps. Last week I did 40 for 6. See how much these dumbbells wobble. That left hand, look how much it's wobbling. It's almost like a kind of shoulder stability exercise. Terribly weighted dumbbells. This was too light for the gym thing. I think still using the strap on the left. I've got a battle at the minute between weakness in the left hand and pain, and there's this bruised kind of vein on my left index finger, my right index finger. It's damned if I do, damned if I don't. Last week Jen used a band for this. After I think it was a bit of fatigue, she did about 2 reps or 1 rep and immediately needed to go in for bands. But this week, pretty strong, 3 sets, all body weight. Superset, last superset. Push pull, so it was dips with bent over rows. This time of year in Dubai, the gym gets nice and quiet, especially around about the time we train, about 12 o'clock. A lot of people travel back to their home countries, so plenty of space in the parking, plenty of space in the gym to move. And the last day was lower body. Started off with a 5-minute mobility follow along. I think Jen was in shock from this because of the speed at which I did all the movements. She felt it was like something from the Benny Hill show. It was like in double speed almost. So this is part of the routine on the program. You just press play, follow along. 5-minute mobility, then you're into your workout. Bit of stiff-legged jumps. And then it was a kind of Tabata style on the bike, maximum sprint, 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off times 4. And this on paper was one of those workouts that looks easy. It wasn't many exercises, but you get yours kind of into your second exercise and you're thinking, oh geez, this is not easy. No sled in this gym, but we've got the skill mill. Brilliant alternative. It's one of those things you can lean on this and just push it with your body weight, but as soon as you try and force it, it makes it, it goes from 1 to 100 miles an hour. Maximum quad pump at the end of this. It was pretty brutal. Because of Jen's dodgy shoes, she couldn't do the same low angle as me because the shoes kept coming off, so she had to do a slightly higher one with a higher speed, longer push. Bit of rear foot elevated, usual setup over the leg extension, best use for the leg extension. A little bit high, if anything, this machine. And then single leg. This is half squat, half step down. I say on this one we had a big argument about whose technique was right. I say my technique was right because it's my workout. But you can do this exercise lots of different ways. It's not really a step up, it's a step down. I imagine that my foot that's on the bench is basically on a set of scales, and I'm trying to keep as much weight on that set of scales as possible. Reason for the plate on the bench is basically just to take away the softness, the sponginess of the bench. It's a little bit high. That's it. Another week done.